I'd like to call the meeting to order of our regular October meeting, Tuesday, October 3rd for College of the Redwoods. If everyone would please stand and join me in the flag salute, we'll honor those serving our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, today we begin a new adventure of using board docs. I announced that ahead of time because we have been assigned a little iPad to use, and there will be some adjustments as we're not used to this new level of technology, so please bear with us. Well, starting with the first item of general public comments, didn't receive any cards, so I'm assuming there are none. We'll move on to board member comments. Let's start with Trustee Dorn, or Trustee Copini. Okay.
Yes, I was privileged to be invited to the Eureka Old Town Rotary, and Marty Quaylo was there, happened to be there, giving a presentation on Alzheimer's, and it was just a tremendous outreach, just very positive, and you couldn't, a lot of questions and answers, you couldn't, a lot of attention to detail. It was really, really nice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And Trustee Dorn?
Hi. I just returned from the ACCT conference in Las Vegas, and I think that before I begin my report, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for all those families and the victims of the massacre. Thank you. And when I was talking to my youngest daughter, Mackenzie, about, should I say something before I do my report, she thought I should, and she said, and then she sent me a text later on, and she goes, she wants me to remind everybody in the room the importance of running a campus that promotes love and equality along with justice and denounces hate and prejudice against all others. And I was pretty proud that she sent me that. But anyhow, the conference was really great. I have done a report on most of the classes, but there are a few that I'd like to take a moment to highlight. One was Dr. Snowflamer had me attend a 5-hour session, 5 hours, on trustees advocating. And it was pretty interesting. We are the only college in the room that has a policy against trustees advocating. And most colleges promote it heavily. They do, and I apologize, I say the data wrong, iPad? Okay. And they spent a great deal of time with us about how bad the data is, which Dr. Hill has said to us for years, and how to compensate when you meet with a congressman. And what we should be promoting is student success and have some stories. They actually did the story of President Obama that he is a failure in the data because he dropped out of community college. Even though he graduated from Harvard, the data will show him as a failure. And so I thought that was pretty good. A lot of boards divide the trustees up and have a politician. Each trustee is responsible to talk to a politician, keep them informed about what's going on at the college. ACCT is lobbying for the Pella grants to be increased by $100 and also for them to be year-round. And they really stressed that if you do meet with a congressperson, you should have a student with you because they'd much rather talk to a student than you. They actually had us do elevator speeches, which was really pretty fun to do. And they also suggested having town hall meetings for the politicians on campus and giving it to them for free. So you get those politicians more involved in your campus. And then I'm going to go into it a little bit later, but we spent quite a bit about the homelessness and the food issues. Actually, my favorite class of all was one where the board has done the trustees shadow a student for the day. And I thought, when I read the description, I thought that was pretty neat. And they have their trustees, they pick, obviously, a student that has some common interest with the trustee, and the trustee goes to lunch with them and then goes into the classroom with them. The faculty seem to really enjoy having a trustee there at the thing. In one case, it was a veteran student, and the trustee went to the Veterans Hall in the conference and what have you. And the trustees all really, you sort of got out of the boardroom, you were hands-on, you got to hear what some of the issues were that the students have that we don't really hear here. We don't have that connection with the student. And they raved about it. I mean, every trustee did it. They were all on different campuses. But it was heavily supervised, meaning there was an administrator not nearby, but within phone if something went amiss. I don't know what would go amiss, but they just really raved about doing it. And I thought it was really a great idea. And then we did a lot on accreditation. They had the CEOs of all the commissions were there from across the United States, and they did a luncheon. Richard Wintz spoke, and he was very clear about mission. And he went on in his 5-minute spiel about mission, and everything is tied to that, and that's what you need to be ready for in that. And then I went to another class that was the Western, and actually got to go up and chat with him a little bit. And I'll say he is, after chatting with Barbara Bino, he is the complete opposite in my opinion. And very nice. He did address that the merger or the change of accrediting commissions, and that in the last couple of months, that is very unlikely. And he said that it's sort of gone out the window. One reason is there's significant policy differences between the community college and the CSU, that there were policies that neither organization was willing to change in order to merge for accreditation. So I thought that was interesting. And, when I got there, I thought the overriding issue would be DACA students. I thought that would be what we would hear a lot about. I actually was fortunate to sit with one at the advocacy class and was really interesting. But actually what was the overriding issue is homelessness and food issues. And the statistics are incredible. 67% of the students of higher education in this country are food insecure. 67%. I mean, we in the room went, oh my God, are you serious? 33% indicated that they go hungry. 50% of the students are housing insecure, with 13% homeless. We all look at what I shouldn't say that, but we look at what should we be doing about this, and they can go into the reasons, what have you. And so that was, they talked about, the foods as we did. The other thing they came up with was clothing. They have some clothing places where every faculty, trustees can all donate clothing, because a lot of these students don't have the ability to buy clothes or have clothes for job interviews. And if you think about it, if you're homeless, I mean, I know they can shower at our gym, but what about clothing? And they talked about the different campuses of how they have, created a clothing bank, so to speak, like the food bank. And the one thing they did mention too was bringing a CPA on campus for a day, because most of the students, if they were to file income tax, would get a refund. Which is pretty, if you think about it, is pretty interesting. A simple thing as finding a CPA or a couple CPAs to come to campus to work with the students to file the taxes. And I don't know what they get, but they were saying that it was worth the students' while to doing that. And so I really thank everybody for sending me there, and it was really interesting.
Thank you for going.
Any questions?
Okay. Trustee Matthews?
Yes, I would just like to say that I had an opportunity to visit the Del Norte campus recently, share some history information of the campus with Director Rory Johnson, meet the new TRIO program director, Kelly Carbone, and kind of tour around the campus, hear what was happening with the growth of telepresence, Pelican Bay State Prison classes, and learning lab technology. It's very good.
Okay, we'll move on to our next agenda item, board committee reports. Don't believe that any committees have met this last month. Next agenda item is a board business, and I'd like to appoint an ad hoc committee on nominations for our board officers that will be taking place in December. And I've asked Tracy Capini, Trustee Capini, to chair that committee, and I've invited Trustee Rice to serve on that committee, and also Trustee Ross. So I need, I assume a motion to approve that. Am I correct? Or do I just appoint?
Who was the third member?
Trustee Ross.
Oh.
Yeah.
I move for approval.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion passes. And now we have a special agenda item. I'm sad to report that Trustee Rice's last meeting will officially be in November, and because our November meeting is in Hoopa and not as many staff and faculty are there to observe, nor is there the availability of videotaping the meeting, I asked that we would use our October meeting to honor Trustee Rice. So I have a little something for you, if you would come up. I hope everybody can hear me okay. We purchased this lovely fire and light bowl and have it engraved, Barbara Rice in appreciation, College of the Redwoods Board of Trustees, 2009 to 2017. And I hope you'll put this in a very special place in your home and think of us when you're using it. And we have a card for you, but I just want to be sure everybody remembers what she did to help us facilitate the transfer of property between College of the Redwoods and Mendocino Community College. It wasn't always easy at the beginning, and a few rough edges along the way as we took our baby steps. And then we finally completed the process, and Barbara was there to be at the opening to see that process completed. So again, thank you for all you have done for the district, and we really appreciate your service very, very much.
Thank you.
You want to say a few words? You want to say a few words or anything?
Well, I'm really honored and touched by this. This is wonderful. And, you know, the transfer of territory certainly couldn't have happened with all of your support and with Keith's work and everyone else's from all over the state. So we're excited, and I'm sorry to leave here, but I think we're all a stronger, better board than we've ever been, and I've learned a lot, and I know you all have too. So thank you for putting up with me for 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our consent calendar. Yeah, I did put her to work for just a little bit longer. With our consent calendar, is there any item that any trustee would like to remove from the calendar? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Okay, now we'll move down to 4.1, and if you just click on 4.1 on your little iPad, it'll open the agenda up with all the details. And also, if you click under, on the icon below the budget implications, that will open up the PDF file that also goes with this agenda item. President Snowflamer, could you go over this item for us?
Certainly, on an annual basis, the college gets about almost $4 million a year to put forth to instructional programs. We have to prove via board action that we're actually going to use the money for instruction and not for administrative salaries. So this is put forth for the board's approval.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Item 4.2, approve the faculty contract. And trustees, a copy of that contract was placed in front of you here at the podium. Also, you can click on the little icon and that will take you to a digital site of that same contract. President Snowflamer, any comments?
Thank you. I'm very, very pleased to present the faculty contract for the board's approval. This is a long time coming. I know that the faculty and the staff at the institution has worked mightily hard over the last almost a year or more on trying to renew the contract. And really, if it wasn't for Mike Haley and his crew and his staff over, say, the last 2 months, we could not have arrived at such a fair contract. So thank you to Mike, CFO, Michelle, and Carrie Mayer, who pushed very hard. I really appreciate it. So again, it's for the board's approval, and it's a fair contract, and it's a contract that ensures that our full-time and part-time faculty, so associate faculty, are well taken care of, and the district is fiscally solvent moving forward.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Item 4.3, approve a salary increase for unrepresented employees. And the background is listed in your packet. Are there any additional comments?
Unless the trustees have a question.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Okay, item 4.4. Again, click on that item and it'll open up the background. Mr. Woods, does it have his first name here? Michael Woods, okay, is a student, Eureka student. Is a resident of Eureka and a history major who participates in the concert band at College of the Redwoods. And so we're proposing that we will approve his appointment to the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Is there a motion?
I'll second it.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. 4.5, financial report. There are actually 3 attachments to this agenda item. Don't know if the trustees want to open all 3 documents. Okay. I'll let President Snowflamer introduce this item.
Thank you, trustees. This report is just showing for the first 2 months of this fiscal year, July and August. But if you go to the unrestricted general fund spreadsheet, the title should be fiscal year 2017-18 and not 16 and 17. So 17-18 will match the cover sheet, but it's still the accurate information. Again, it covers for the first 2 months of this fiscal year, and we are still projecting a 7.4 fund reserve by the end of the year.
And I believe the other two items are just the actual PO report and CalCard summary pages. Are there any questions about any of the backup information before you make a motion? Trustee Dorn?
So after approving the raises, are they all reflected in this budget and the retroactive?
Yes, they are. Matter of fact, the board approved the final budget a month ago,
And-
and we assumed the 2% for all classifications.
Thank you.
I move for approval.
Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Item 4.6, first reading of board policies and administrative procedures. Looks like there's 3 attachments. Am I giving everybody enough time to get the items open? Any questions about this, the student rights and grievances policy? It was the administrative procedure.
So
I
the-
don't,
So the board will see BP 4235 as a second read in November.
so, do I have a motion then?
You don't need
I don't need a motion, okay. Is there some way on this agenda we can make note of those items which do need action versus those items that are discussion?
on the
Yes,
agenda item itself.
It's under, oh, I see, under type,
Right.
under the backup, it says information. Got it, okay. Okay, next item, 4.7. And it is an information item. And it's a presentation of the Redwoods Community College District initial bargaining proposal to the California State Employees Association, College of the Redwoods, Chapter 509. Any additional comments?
No, this is a standard reopener, so we can discuss compensation for CSEA to mirror the other employee groups.
And so this needs no action, it's just information
Just
only.
information only.
Okay, moving right along. We go to informational reports. 5.1 accreditation update. There should be an attachment to that. And it's a list of the team members.
I've been receiving requests for additional evidence from several of the team members through the team assistant. And so many people on the campus and throughout the district have been helping me gather the evidence that's being requested so that we can get that information to them ahead of time, which I hope will be very helpful because then they'll come better informed about the college and able to ask really good questions. We have a draft schedule that the team chair has and is vetting before I go ahead and release it to the college. Everyone who the team has asked to meet with is in the schedule. The plan is for a few members to visit Del Norte on the Wednesday and Hoopa on the Tuesday. I did that out of order. We're not exactly sure when the HOOPA visit will happen because it might be that a team member will stop there on the way to this campus. So we're not quite sure about that yet, but those will be happening. And we have the majority of our committees convening, or there is at least a solid representation from those groups that are on the schedule. The Senate has graciously offered up their Senate room to serve as the team room. It's a much nicer space than the initial room that we had slated in the FM. So we're really happy about that. And I think it's been a lot of back and forth in terms of questions and evidence requests, but I think we're staying on top of it.
Yes, trustee.
Dr. Hill, can you form any thoughts or opinion as to the nature of questions they're asking as to where they're coming from?
There have been a lot of questions about how services to students online, who are online students, who are at other locations, and making sure that they're receiving all of the services that they need. There have been questions around our outcome assessment process, just because we in some ways do it a little differently than I think what they might do at their school. There's been some questions around our counseling and advising offerings and things, but for the most part, they've been very constructive, and it's easy to find the evidence that they're requesting. In some cases, it was in the report. In some cases, it wasn't.
Trustee Mallory?
It was buzzing. So could you be more specific about how our process regarding outcome assessment might differ from the other colleges?
Yes, so we have set up a system where when our faculty get together to talk about their assessment outcome results and to analyze the data and to figure out what they want to do to improve, they will come together and often take all that comes out of that discussion and put that into an assessment report. So the dialogue gets captured in the report itself. So that's where most of our dialogue evidence lies, as opposed to asking for minutes from different meetings that took place and wanting the dialogue to appear there. So.
Trustee Dorn?
And since you have an idea of the schedule, what are the roles of the trustees in the visit?
That has been set up for, do you remember?
Yes, I do. Tuesday at 4 p.m.
For the entire board or just the?
No, we have three board members that will stand by.
Any other questions for Dr. Hill? Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciated the bios on the team members. That was helpful to get an idea of the different perspectives that might be brought onto campus. Okay, next item is 5.2, persistent rate trends. Persistence. And is that going to be Dr. Hill again, or?
Dr. Hill, do you want to talk about this item? It's our standard student success agenda item.
Yeah, I'm happy to, excuse me, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I think that these trends are showing, so our part-time persistence is going up pretty steadily. Full-time is remaining fairly stable. And what this seems to be resulting in that we're noticing is an increase in our head count at the campus, which isn't accompanied by, so our FTES seems pretty flat, but our headcount is increasing. And this, it's not just us. There have been another number of colleges that have noted this, but that has to do with the persistence of our part-time students. So.
Okay, seeing no questions about this report, we'll go on to 5.3, strong workforce, more and better CTE.
Dr. Hill, would you like to introduce Aaron and Mike Peterson to the board?
So Dean Wall is here to talk to you about some of the different strong workforce programs that are under Works, and Mike Peterson is faculty in manufacturing technology joining her.
And I'm hoping that we'll have another couple faculty members that'll be joining us. We're a little ahead of our anticipated time, and some of them are stepping out of class to try to give a quick update. They're rearranging things. So I think you heard about the Strong Workforce Program originally when it came out, and so I had put in the report about what our allocation was from last year, and that we've allocated those funds and have some certified projects on those, which were listed in that attachment. And that this year, the thing I want to highlight is this year, the legislature, the states actually decided to approve additional funds to the programs. See, even our base allocation that we're getting is higher. So we're excited. We developed plans that would go over multiple years, but there'll be an opportunity for additional plans to come in. What's been really exciting that I've seen is as we move into the second year, there's a lot of sharing of what different colleges have done to try to learn from each other at the regional level and to partner, that is one of the ideas in building our strong workforce, that's at the college level, but also at the regional level, and that we're working and sharing ideas. And so I'm really excited to see what our proposals look like from the faculty as we move into the next round. Is there any questions on anything in particular before I turn it over to Mike to talk a little bit about what he's been doing with manufacturing technology? Turn it over to you, Mike.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Peterson. I graduated in 1987. CR changed my life back then, and I used the knowledge and skills that I learned here in industry for many years. I've had a very successful career in manufacturing. I've been the lead faculty in the manufacturing technology program since 2006. And I just wanted to talk about my program. There are numerous awesome strong workforce projects across career technical education, but in particular, manufacturing technology has received strong workforce funding through the Far North Advanced Manufacturing Network Initiative, which is a collaboration of several consortium colleges. And using these funds, we've purchased a state-of-the-art computerized automated machining center, and we've upgraded our manual machine shop. And within the strong workforce effort is going to be a proposed new certificate of recognition in mechatronics technology. And so the CR machine shop has seen many recent and substantial technology upgrades. So please come visit us on Science Night. We'll be having demonstrations of the new machines. Thank you.
Thank you.
And my other faculty, oh, go ahead, I think we have questions.
I guess this is the time to ask the question, and it's probably because I have accreditation on my mind. I noticed in your summary that the objective is to build more and better CTE and to improve quality. So is there any kind of outcome assessments that have been done on the projects that were funded last year? I mean, I'm anticipating possible questions when the accreditors come to town.
One of the things that'll be happening here is our metrics. We'll be doing our first reporting. The reporting template was supposed to be due out in October. We haven't seen it yet, but we had to, with all of these proposals, when we put them in, we had to look at labor market demand with these, as well as bringing in some targets for increasing our metrics in terms of student outcomes, student completion, students in the program. And so those are going to be measured. They measure them, and it's collected and reported to us in one place, which is nice, the launch board system. And so we will be tying that in. It's also a part of just the whole proposal process, is that in order to get a proposal that lines up, that we can certify in the system, we have to have projections and labor market information. We tried to build a variety of proposals, some that are focused on more CTE, so our outreach efforts. Some of them have new coursework coming in, and then some are about better and improving equipment, or maybe taking something in a little different direction.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, those measures will be available. They're not,
Yes,
they're
they
not
are.
available yet.
Yeah, actually, some of them are out there. We can start looking, but they'll be updated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't, yeah.
A question about the launch board. Is that a format that the state's providing, or do we, each college, develop their own?
It's at the
Format.
state level, which is nice, and it brings in data that we report through our MIS system, as well as automatically with the Employment Development Department. So that one of the nice things is all the data's in one place, and we're all using the same data. One of the measures that they're using is looking at what happens to our students after they graduate, and are they getting a job within their field, and is it increasing their earnings? And so they've got a variety of metrics that are being collected at the state level, which is nice, so that we don't have to spend our time digging for data, but looking at the data that's out there and figuring out what to do.
Thank you. Trustee Matthews, did you have a question?
I did. I'm wondering, either as part of this project or as part of the college overall, if tremendous, it sounds like, improvements, for instance, in the machine and electronic machining program is being promoted, so that prospective students are aware of our having, I assume, a sort of state-of-the-art program as a draw, so that students know about the program.
We are looking to promote, as Mike mentioned, he'll have some of that machinery at Science Night, which
Right.
those are future students. But also with our marketing and outreach, we're bringing more students to campus and have plans to get them into our labs and to see it, particularly our students who are involved in dual enrollment as well. So the word gets out. We do have, well, that's for a different case, but we also have the marketing campaign is getting out as well. Oh, good, one of my faculty folks is here to talk to you a little bit more about his program. But there is plans to market those as well. And I think really get the word out, particularly as some of these new, we're still getting some of the equipment in. So it's just rolling in and setting up and the curriculum being developed, but that's part of the plan. And I do want to introduce, come on up, Darius, with his, he's been involved with our early childhood education. He has a few strong workforce projects that are both local and regional ones.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Darius Calvitis, Early Childhood Education faculty. I'd like to present a little bit about our strong workforce projects, and I have a couple of handouts for everyone as well. So I was really pleased that today was a windy day when I was walking here from the Child Development Center. The wind was blowing my hair, and I was feeling that when the wind blows, it brings in new things, and new things at the college are a good omen. And the strong workforce has been one of those at the Career Technical Education Division. So we have two projects. One's a local project, and it's called Grow Your Own Teachers. It's a project with HSU and with HCOE. And the second project is a regional project that I'm working with Butte Shasta colleges on integrating emerging literacy for technology. And so this is a short PowerPoint. I'm not sure if everyone's gonna give me 10 minutes or 20 minutes for this presentation, so I'll keep it short. So let's just go right to the next slide. So there were two kind of pots to go for. One was a regional pot where we had to collaborate with other community colleges, and one was a local pot. The Grow Your Own Teachers is a local project. I got an email from Dr. Hill last year saying, you know, HSU is interested in this teacher pipeline grant. So I followed up with them, got to meet all the School of Education, Mary Dingle, and then got on top of their grant or their process for teacher pipeline. I also met with Humboldt County of Education. Gary Eagles was the superintendent, and he was also on board. And so we're really trying to identify and meet the needs of the local community. We'll go to the next slide. So there's teacher shortages coming around all across the state. And our issue right here in Northern California is actually more severe than some of the other teacher shortages. And the reason being is because a lot of the teacher preparation programs here, specifically Humboldt State University, a lot of their enrollments are from Central and Southern California. So students come up from, you know, from San Francisco, from Orange County, and then as soon as they graduate, they go home because they have larger salaries there. And so even though HSU does produce quite a few teachers, a lot of them leave our district after they're done. Next slide, please. So to get the Strong Force funding justified, we had to show data-driven decision-making. And so here's some data that I shared with Humboldt State. We worked back and forth. And we identified that the chart on the left there shows that for a long time there, up until about 2011, 2012, the teacher preparation, estimated teacher hires, was about the same as the new folks getting credentials to become teachers. But soon after that, in about 2012, 2013, a drastic shortage came in statewide for teachers. And the teacher education programs just weren't filling that anymore. The chart on the right is from EdJoin. It's a database that breaks it down by county. And as you see, the EdJoin vacancies have gone up from 58 to 115 to 141 positions. And so projected to continue growing. And this is echoed by both Humboldt State University and by the Humboldt County of Education office as well. You know, you go to their website, there's a lot of positions from teachers, special ed teachers, paraprofessionals. They just can't find the folks to do it. Next slide. And so we spent the spring and the summer kind of getting organized with a new program proposal. I think it's on the table as an AP 4020. I haven't been through this process before, so I'm new to it. And we're working with the dean and the leadership to kind of push that through. And we're looking at starting an associate's in elementary education and a certificate of achievement in education as well. Those are our initial plans, but that's going to be the work, I think, of the task force to determine how that's going to work. All of this is paid through the Strong Workforce local project, so there's no out-of-pocket for CR's budget at all, which is a positive. And just yesterday or a couple weeks ago, there's Education's Futures Project, which is another statewide initiative where they're doing a teacher education pipeline funding proposal where we can ask for more money to make this a reality and to partner with other things. Some other things we're doing with the Strong Workforce local project is we're hiring an education or an ECE field placement coordinator because all of this work has to be linked in with the local schools. If you're going to be a teacher, you can't just come to your lecture class and read your textbooks, take your quizzes. You have to actually begin working with children, with classrooms, so that when you're finishing up, you're ready to go. So our plan is to develop some courses, some curriculum, assess our current resources, see if there's any kind of movement through the faculty prioritization process for possibly a new hire in the and of course, wait for direction from the administration, from the stakeholders, and from the board. So that sums up our local project. So I'd like to take just a moment to take any questions about the local project before I get into the regional project.
Trustee Dorn?
Just a short question. On the radio, I've been hearing that they're advertising for substitute teachers. Is that part of this program, that if you have a degree, they'll hire you to teach?
Yeah, so substitute teachers, they're also hard to fill those vacancies in the K-12 school system. If you have a bachelor's degree, any kind of bachelor's degree, and you pass a substitute teaching class, they'll hire you as a substitute teacher. It's not part of this package at all, and that's really the Band-Aid, that's really the tourniquet on the problem right there, right? So the school systems are overwhelmed with underqualified, temporary, kind of patch-it systems that our children are going through year after year after year. And so that really doesn't reflect well in the long run, even for the students that we receive. So it's not part of it, but it's a stopgap measure, I think, by the county.
Trustee Imad?
Thank you, President Biggin. In your opinion, what are the causes for this shortage?
That's a big question for a little person like me. So I think it's multifaceted. One of the main issues, I think, statewide is that teachers don't really command the respect that they used to, and so people are thinking about, yeah, if you're gonna be a teacher, how cool is that? It's not that cool. I'm trying to change that, as you can tell, right? Another thing is, the pay really doesn't really match up. So if you're in some of the STEM fields, mathematics, physics, chemistry, right, you can get into those fields and make a lot more than if you can if you work at a high school as a math teacher, for instance. There's also some pretty stringent placement exams and testing exams before you get to become a credentialed teacher as well, and some students don't pass those. So there's a lot of roadblocks, I think, in the way. And as a society, as an institution of higher ed, I think our job is to really open up those barriers if we can.
Follow-up question, to what extent do you think the support at every level, particularly national, for charter schools is contributing to this dilemma?
The charter school movement has blossomed in the past decade. You know, my children went through charter school in Hawaii. I've worked with charter schools, and the charter school, is another measure that kind of takes the money out of the whole K-12 school system, kind of sets it aside a little bit, and the charter schools get a little bit less money per pupil. That's why they're sometimes popular with districts, because the district gets to keep maybe 10%, 20%, and the charter school gets 80%. They have more leeway to do what they want to do with their education. I really believe in local control, so I think it's a positive thing, the charter school movement. But I think as far as strong workforce or the teacher education pipeline project statewide coming out of the Chancellor's office, I haven't seen anything regarding charter schools, how they're being impacted at all.
Thank you.
Trustee Matthews?
I had a question, also a comment. I understood that part of the current trend with teacher shortage was baby boomer retirement statistics, where you have large numbers of teachers retiring over a given period of time, which we haven't backfilled, so to speak. My question was about the 2-year associate degree in elementary education, and just what you envision the career goal of that. Is that like the first half of a 4-year degree for elementary education?
Great
All right.
question. So, with those teacher retirees, we'll jump on that one first. That big drop in the staffing happened at 2012, 2013. So when the recession hit in 2008, 2009, a lot of the teachers that were going to retire said, actually, I'm not going to retire yet. I'll hold off for a couple more years, really kind of get my retirement really set up. And then 2011, 2012, 2013, that's when they all took their retirements. That's maybe that dip in that chart that we saw. And the second part of the question was,
What the career goal, the direction for the associate degree in elementary education is?
Yeah, so, we're really looking at a couple different options, and so Humboldt State University has a special education grant where they're trying to get special education teachers certified in 4 years. Typically, it's 2 years at CR, 2 years in child development, and 1 year in special education student teaching, so usually it's a 5-year track. They're trying to make all that into a 4-year track, and they're trying to work with us so we can provide all the necessary 2+2 for a credential. So it's really going to be something that we have to shake out during the AP 4020 process, where we're looking at what's the best fit, how that works, what other departments on campus are interested in participating. You know, do we want to go special ed, elementary ed, or do we want to open it up to an education degree for high school and middle school? So there's a lot of possibilities. My experience is really with early childhood and elementary education, so that's where my strengths lie, and so that's what I've been focusing on. But there is some interest from the math department. I've spoken to a few math faculty who are interested in working toward this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we have the second project, that was part
Okay.
1. And then part 2 can actually go really quickly, okay? So part 2 is a regional project. It's integrating emerging digital education technologies to support learning in early childhood education. So under the strong workforce, you can only get funding for regional projects if you collaborate with other colleges. And so I called them up, introduced myself, said I'll take the lead on it, I'll write the grant, are you guys on board? I'm like, okay, let's do it. Right, and so, let's go to the next slide. And so, this is part of a poster I presented 2 weeks ago at a conference in San Jose at the coordinators meeting. And this project actually started with Perkins funds, with, from the CTE, CETIA funds. And all the projects that we're trying to do were, kind of have some overlap. Some money comes from this pool, some money comes from this pool. None of it comes out of the general budget. And so we just want to kind of take you through some of the new initiatives that we piloted over here. Next slide. So in early childhood education, teachers have to document children's learning. And the old-fashioned way was pencil, clipboard, right? But now that we're into the 21st century, there's a lot of other possibilities to do that. So under the CETIA grant, under the Perkins grant, we got a whole bunch of iPads, like 40 iPads, we got projectors, we got displays, and then we're basically going digital with our assessment tools for children. We're working with the Child Development Center, Wendy Jones, her teachers are supporting our EC students with the training. So it's working out really well. That's kind of stage 1. Next slide. So it's all about going digital. There's no more paper to shovel, to move around, to lose, and it's really kind of organized in that way. It's kind of exciting for the students. There's some roadblocks with technological issues, but IT, Stephen Roper and his team have been very helpful on this project. I'm really happy for that. Next slide. It took a little while to get our child development 101 classroom set up this way with wireless iPads, support from the lab school, strengthening the Wi-Fi connections, and it really took a lot of people to make this project happen for that region project. And we're the first school in the state that are using iPad documentation for children's learning. So a lot of lab schools are doing it, but we're actually the first higher ed institution using it with our lab students, our ECT students. Next slide. We've been using Canvas, our learning management system. Students are really getting to know that because when they're in the class, they get an iPad, they come right in there and have it. And we're using the Learning Genie app, which is basically kind of like an Instagram to do your assessment on children, which is really easy, and some of our younger students really like it. It's really easy to do. I think the last slide. There we go. So that's our regional project. Any questions or comments on that?
very exciting, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 5.4, College and Career Access Pathways Partnership Agreement with Fortuna Union High School District. And it looks, there is did everybody get one of these packets, or is this to be passed around?
Actually, that's for you.
Oh, okay.
The rest of it is an attachment to the agenda item. May I say a few things just as background?
Yes, please.
Trustee Begin. Trustees, the law that underlies the CCAP agreement says that the CCAP has to go to the board as an informational item first, and then as an approval or an action item on the second time. So the board will see this as an action item at the November board meeting. And this is an agreement with Fortuna Union High School for some dual enrollment courses that really speak to CTE growth.
You have a question? Yes.
Yeah.
Trustee Capini.
Oh, just a question. How's the FTES calculated on a program like this?
I don't know if Aaron, Dean Wall, do you have anything to add to this one? Go ahead.
It's calculated according to standard contact hours, the way that we do. So 525 contact hours is one FTES.
Okay, thank
So-
you.
So they measure attendance hours in the class.
So we would get the apportionment, but then we'd get a stipend back to the high schools.
Oh, okay.
So the FTES is calculated the same way as any other academic class that was on campus?
Yes.
How many students would need to participate in this at Fortuna before the $6,000 stipend would be a break-even point?
I don't have that answer on top of my head, but we get that answer on the next agenda item
Okay,
when it comes back.
so the 6,000 is basically for the kind of use of their space, like rental for classroom space and that type of thing?
Classroom space, but also stipend going back to that faculty member.
Okay. And that's above and beyond their standard salary that they
It is.
receive in the district?
Basically, that stipend goes back to the district, and it's up to the superintendent to determine how that money is then sent out.
Okay, we'll move on to 5.5, results of Certificate of Participation Research.
And since Lee Lindsay is not here, I do have Julia Morrison that will stand by to cover in case that I do get the numbers mixed up in this one. But trustees, several months ago, the idea was brought forth to renovate our dorms because our dorms are not in very good shape, both for our current students, but also from an enrollment management point of view to recruit new students in the dorms. So the idea was put forth from the board to authorize myself and Lee Lindsay to do some research on what a COP would cost and what that would look like. So as an attachment to this agenda item is the breakdown on the financials on the COP. We use Columbia College as a benchmark, if you will, to how much that they charge in dorms, and then if we charge the same amount, what the COP would look like, and how much money that we could reasonably assume that we can get to renovate the dorms. And we're talking about, what, $4.8 million or $4.5 million. And that's just to upgrade our current facility. And we have an estimate from our facilities folks that if we were going to tear down the dorms and build new dorms, it'd be almost $17.8 million. So we wanted to put this research in front of the board, and I want to ask your direction on where you would like the administration to head at this point.
Okay, Trustee Imad.
Thank you, President Vivian. I have a question and then two comments. The question is the total rebuild of the dorms within states' near-term plans of funding available that you can ask for, or is that pie in the sky?
Since our dorms are auxiliaries, the state won't pay for the auxiliaries. So it'll be incumbent upon the institution to fund the renovation or the rebuilding of the dorms.
So the two comments I'd like to make is A, I'm really uncomfortable increasing our rates by 48% based on the highest rates in the state. My fear is that either we will make ourselves very non-competitive and lose Columbia is the highest rate. And to go from where we are to Columbia is 48%. Either we would do that, or we would not deliver the proper value to students, because what we are doing in terms of renovating and asking for that kind of an increase is a big jump. My preference would be that we take the funds from Garberville when we sell that, if and when we do it, and then borrow a much lower amount on COP. And therefore, we wouldn't have to increase as much our cost, and it would be more reasonable from my perspective. Having seen the dorms, I really think that they should be raised. I mean, I just think that, you know, we're putting good money after bad, going in there and fixing things up, but that's an issue of money, and we don't have it, so the next best thing is what you're proposing.
Trustee Dorn?
I had a similar concern to Trustee Imad. Aren't there only 2 community colleges that have dorms in the state?
No, there are about 5 at this point. There's just a handful.
So, and why did you pick Columbia, or why did somebody pick Columbia as the price point?
Because they were the highest.
The
I
highest.
just want to use what the highest rate would be and what we would have to
And how
compute.
many do you know how many students are in the dorms on financial aid now?
On our dorms?
Uh-huh.
No, I don't have that exact answer
I
now.
mean, that would be, to, like Trustee Imad, to raise the rate that much.
Agree.
Trustee Matthews?
I would, sorry. I would just have the same comment about the balance between improving the dorms to where they are quite reasonable and raising the cost to the students. I'm not sure that you can do one without the other, but I would also like to see if there's some combination of funding, as Trustee Imad was suggesting. And I would also want to be sure, this is talking about this particular example proposal is quoted at being at about 3.4 million.
Yes.
And I would also want to be sure, as we know how those kind of mushroom over time while you're trying to work on something, that the amount of money that we would have either through the COP, the certificates of participation, or other funds, or both together, would be an adequate amount to really do the work that needs to be done. And if that's 3.4 million, fine. If that's really like kind of the most that we thought we could manage with this funding package of the certificates, whether it's really enough money So that would just be my thought, is to be sure that however we do it, we actually are going to have enough money to do it right.
Trustee Capini.
Yeah, I think for the information that we have in front of us, it's pretty much impossible to give good direction. I mean, for instance, the roof, structural problems, you know, we don't know as trustees. We don't want to get ourselves, if we start putting $3 or $4 million and then 3 years later, oh, we got to do this, or we should have done this. We need more information.
But that's what happened in Garberville.
Yes.
It's exactly what
Yes.
happened.
Trustee Matthews.
I just, the other thought that I had was that some of the early discussion of this points out that you would ideally have the improvements that you make last through the life of the certificate's loan, and that's a long time. So that's really a big, to me, something big to factor into that. It's, if this is a 30-year, financial picture, are we doing 30 years that's gonna last in the dorms?
Yeah, Trustee Mullery, did you have?
Thank you. So I'm thinking back to the presentation Trustee Dorn gave us at the beginning of our meeting and the topic that we're hearing more and more about in terms of housing insecurity. So a couple of questions. I'm assuming that our occupancy rate in our dorms it's 100%, and there's a wait list, I'm assuming?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Do you see in the future any tie-in between providing some kind of grant funding or scholarships or something along those lines for the increasing number of students that are housing insecure? And would that in any way offset I'm going way down the pike here,
Well,
okay?
Actually, it's a great question.
Any way of offsetting some of these potential rent increases that would be needed to improve our current residence halls?
If I may. There's, in fact, I had the conversation with the student government as a possibility, not, of course, throwing out the real numbers or any numbers, but just the fact that we may come to them for some help and some ideas. But also, I did talk to the foundation, at their last foundation meeting, about the program that we have in place, are going to have in place in February in collaboration with HSU and HCOE about the homeless summit that we're going to have in February. And that would be a very natural fundraising activity for the foundation if that's possible. So we did broach that subject as well.
So if I may follow up, is that also a conversation at the state level?
I have not heard such a conversation at Chancellor's level at this
Okay.
point.
Trustee Dorn.
I just wanted to mention, I looked at the Columbia, those are two-bedroom units with a kitchen, and they're not owned by the college or managed by the college, which is pretty interesting. I mean, we'll never get kitchens in those units unless we start from scratch.
Which goes back to Trustee Emad's point. I mean, in a perfect world, I would love to raise the dorms and start over. Because right now, they're not really conducive to student learning of what we want. And the $3.5 million plus, if we end up selling Garberville, and that $1 million, if you will, adds on to it, that's really just cosmetic. It's stuff that you really would not see. It's just to get rid of the mold and some other deferred maintenance. But I think what I'm hearing from the board is have Vice President Lindsay and I still do some more research and other possibilities.
I think so. Okay, are we ready to move on, or would the board like a break now? Okay, we'll do some more. Organization reports, 6.1 Academic Senate Report.
Thank you, President Biggin. The Academic Senate has been working very closely with Dr. Hill as we finalize our preparations for our accreditation site visit next week. We've assisted in responding to team requests for additional information, additional evidence, and supporting documentation. And as Dr. Hill mentioned, we've offered the Academic Senate office to serve as the team room next week. And we're ready to welcome them to campus. After we've carefully vetted all aspects of the self-evaluation report throughout the last year at our Senate meetings, it seemed like it was an agenda item every other week. We looked at a different piece of the report. We feel very confident that it is a substantial improvement over what I personally have seen historically. So I'm very pleased with the report that we have filed with the commission. At our Senate meeting this Friday, Dr. Hill is going to be on our agenda again to introduce the team members as she has done for you today, and we'll have a final opportunity to ask her any questions in anticipation of their visit next week. I believe we are on the schedule to meet with them, and both Dr. Blakemore and I look forward to that opportunity. We, as a Senate, are proud of the collective good work that we've done as an institution during this period of self-study and reflection, and we have confidence in the self-evaluation report. And we look forward again to meeting with them next week to support their work and to answer any questions that we can about the role of the Academic Senate and shared governance at our college. So we're looking forward to it. We're ready. So thank you.
Thank you. CRFO report.
Thanks for the iPad. Just joking, I brought my own. But I have to say, I've enjoyed looking at the new board documents, the way they're organized. I look forward to seeing if that works out, but it looks good so far. President Biggin, Dr. Snowflamer, members of the board, thank you again for agendizing CRFO at this meeting. Last week, CRFO met with President Snowflamer, and we're looking forward to continuing that again for the upcoming year. I want to let you know that I appreciate the unanimous action that this body took last hour. It's appreciated. And finally, in part 2 of my address, I just wanted to say that faculty and associate faculty are really anticipating the arrival of the accreditors next week. And CRFO acknowledges the preparation and the work that have gone into preparing for this visit. And I know that many administrators sitting amongst us and staff and faculty have worked diligently to prepare for this. And I know that you all know this, but it's not lost on any of us that this is a burden that is heavy, and it is carried by many of us, but also I look at Carrie, I look at Dr. Hill, I look at Professor Mayer, I look at Dr. Hill, I look at President Snowflamer. This burden is heavy on these people, and so we are appreciative of the work that they have done and continue to do. And I even think, even recently, the emails with the educational sessions and reminding folks about different aspects of the mission and where an individual might find information that would respond adequately to any questions from the accreditors. So anyway, it's people notice, and so we're grateful for that. So we're hopeful for what lies ahead in the report that is issued, and we can't wait till January. So thank you all.
Thank you. Classified report? Management Council report.
Hello, good afternoon. President Biggin, trustees, Dr. Snowflamer, everyone present online and on the phone. Thank you all for the opportunity to report out to you today. As you know, the semester is in full swing, and my management colleagues in our departments in Crescent City, Eureka, and Klamath are all doing our part to help students and their families be successful and to help them build the life they dream. Lots of us work longer than 40 hours. Switched phones. Lots of us work longer than 40 hours, nights and weekends, participate in or lead various committees on and off campus on behalf of the district without additional compensation. Therefore, to hear that the district was holding in place retroactive pay for those of us who are underrepresented has raised some concern due to our fiscal history. However, inspired hope that we are headed in the right direction as a college. We understand that negotiations with all of the represented groups are not final. However, we are hopeful that an agreement can continue to be reached that is equal and fair with all in mind. It is my hope personally that we can continue to move forward in this direction and become even more thoughtful when it comes to budgetary decisions moving forward, so that all employees at College of the Redwoods, regardless of their constituent groups, are treated fairly for their contributions to this beautiful region that we all love. So thank you all for continuing to think about us, even though we do not have the power to negotiate. It shows a continued commitment to making College of the Redwoods a place of equality and fairness. Lastly, next week is a very crucial one for us as a district, with the ACC-JC coming to our district. This visit, in a way, is one that has the potential to impact College of the Redwoods for years to come. As managers, we take these visits seriously and stand ready to do our part to ensure that as a college, we can continue to put student success first by providing accessible and relevant development, career, technical, and transfer education. Partner with the community to contribute to the economic vitality and lifelong learning needs of our service areas in Klamath, Crescent City, and Eureka. And continue to assess student learning and institutional performances and practices to embrace diversity, to encourage a healthy community environment, and to improve upon the programs and services we offer, all to promote student learning. Thank you again for your time, and if there are any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to address them now.
Oh, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Okay, administrative report, 7.1, President Superintendent.
Thank you. Just in addition to my written comments, I have two other comments I want to make. First, that I really appreciated Trustee Dorn's report out, and I'm going to work with Executive Cabinet and others to see what we can do and to give that some very thorough thought, and I'll go ahead and report out to the board with that. But also I want to thank the board for your encouragement to continue pursuing our RN BSN partnership with HSU. We've had 2 meetings so far, and HSU is really moving forward to partner with us, and I will be glad to report out to the board at some point down the road, just when we get some other things finalized. But it looks very, very promising. So hopefully by fall of 19, we'll have a direct line between CR's RN program and HSU's BSN, and that'll be a very gratifying day to announce that. So I'll keep the board apprised.
Yes, Trustee Imad.
Thank you, President Biggin. If I may make a comment, I'd like to thank President Snowflamer for your continued flow of non-biased and non-agenda information to the board, where you're just keeping the board informed without trying to manipulate or direct board members in one direction or the other, as we have experienced in the past. So thank you. I really appreciate it. We all have busy lives, and sometimes we just don't look at Time Standard, or we don't look at Garberville paper, and to just get your notice to go to the blog and read it. It's very, very, it helps me be a better trustee, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a Vice President of Administrative Services report, although Mr. Lindsay isn't here to answer any questions. Are there any comments about this report that any trustees would like to make? Seeing, oh, yes, Trustee Matthews.
In the written report, under capital projects update, we're still waiting on final approval of that list with the geological survey issue. Is there any issue there just other than the bureaucracy of them getting through everything that they're looking at and making some recommendation?
Well, the other piece of that is, back several years ago, prior to me being here, we entered the wrong information to what's called Fusion. So there was a discrepancy between how much square footage we're asking and what we are reporting in both the Creative Arts and the PE building. So we want to take a step back and to correct Fusion so we get more square footage moving forward instead of less.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Trustee Rice.
So will this seismic survey have anything to do with the dorms? Will they assess that?
No, it has to do with the student union, not the dorms themselves.
Okay, last report, 7.3, Vice President of Instruction and Student Development. Dr. Hill.
I'd like to just add a few advancements that have happened recently. The first follows up on Trustee Dorn's comments about food insecurity. The college just recently received an allocation of about $8,000 to address food insecurity issues. And instead of us having to put that into an infrastructure or something that would allow us to get food out to students, we already secured a grant, thanks to the help of Jenny Quigley, who's now at HSU, and some other folks. But we have the food pantry in place, and they're experiencing a higher volume of students coming there for food. So they're really excited, I think, to get this additional income, and I think we'll be able to make very good use of it. The other update, additional funds coming from the Chancellor's office are through a student a completion grant. So this is for students who can get $1,500 annually if they receive the Cal Grant, but then they're also enrolled in at least 15 units and making good progress towards their student education plan. So it's really, I think, an effort of the Chancellor's office to, promote guided pathways and to really do everything they can to promote student completion. And so our financial aid office is working really diligently right now to figure out how to implement this grant for our students, because it's a brand new thing. And, what does the relationship look like with counseling, because you've got to track the ed plans and everything like that and getting the word out to students. So it's a good new opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Hill? Yes, Trustee Matthews.
The grant that you were talking about previously regarding that's supporting the food pantry, and the $8,000 grant that you just got, do these have any application district-wide? Are those programs centered just on this campus?
That's a really good question. It is an allocation to the district. So I think that we need to address how to best use the funds at all the locations. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for the reminder.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Dr. Hill, we'll move down to agenda item 8.1, to approve any trustee's request to place an item on a future agenda. Start with Trustee Dorn.
I'd like the board to have a conversation about advocating. I think that we should, discuss it. I understand why we have the policy that we have now, but I think the board has changed a great deal since we wrote that policy. And comes to mind two things: is the Measure Z money we could really have advocated for, and I think it would have had a different outcome. And now from Dr. Snowflamer, the nursing program, I think that could be another role that the trustees with our local congressman could be advocating for. I think with guidelines, and I'd just like the board to discuss this at a future meeting.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
I am.
Okay. Looks like there's consensus. And Trustee Capini.
Yeah, I'd like to see a future report on the agenda regarding athletics, the fiscal impact. And maybe it would come to play a little bit with the dorm use, maybe? So give us a more clear picture. I know we've had it before, but we haven't had it for quite a while. And maybe even the graduation rates with our athletes.
I'd like to see that.
Okay, looks like there's consensus there. Any other items? All right, now we'll move to disclosing items that to be discussed in closed session. We have 2 items, public employment discipline dismissal release and public employment. Any comment about either of those items? Seeing none, we will adjourn to closed session now and take about a 10-minute break? Okay.